You don't need to buy the latest Samsung Galaxy Ultra phone, and in fact, not doing so could save you a ton of money. Let me explain. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra does have some of the best specs of any of today's phones, but what it also has is a massive price tag. Yet the previous model, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, also has some amazing specs, and even though it's only one generation old, you can actually pick it up for less than half the price of the current model if you look on the used market. Seriously, half the price. Isn't that nuts? It's only one generation old. And sure, if you're trying to sell your S24, then that amount of depreciation really sucks. But if you're looking to buy, then you've got yourself a bargain. So what difference does one generation really make? And crucially, can the old model still perform like the new one? Well, to find out, I put these two phones side by side. On paper, the specs are very similar. They both have massive displays with identical resolutions and refresh rates. They both have potent Qualcomm processors, 12GB of RAM, 200 megapixel cameras, titanium frames, IP68 water resistance, and yes, both of them have the S Pen stylus shoved into their bottoms, so to speak. Now, the Galaxy S26 range, including the S26 Ultra, is expected to arrive soon. And sure, it might have a complete overhaul, which really justifies spending that big money on getting the latest model rather than looking at the previous one. But current rumours do suggest that it might only see a modest upgrade. So given that we can also expect to see a sharp decline in the price of the S25 Ultra, the same theory will still apply. You can get a much better deal by shopping the previous generation. From a purely numbers perspective, there is very little to choose between the S25 Ultra and the S24 Ultra. Certainly nothing really that justifies it being more than twice the price. But what do they like to use in person? Let's start with the cameras. Camera performance is always a major way that any phone manufacturer tries to separate out its new model from the last one. And that's usually done by adding some more megapixels in or adding an additional lens on the back. But actually, Samsung has kind of stuck to the same formula for its last few generations of Ultra phones. There are some upgrades on paper, but most notably it's just in the ultra-wide camera, which now has 50 megapixels of resolution. Otherwise, they're pretty much on par. I have taken loads of photos on both phones since they first launched, and for the most part, I don't think you could tell much difference at all, let alone pick a winner. They are both capable of taking lovely images with wide dynamic range, accurate colours, and plenty of detail. The zooms on both phones are excellent, and the night modes are superb. Maybe if you saw both photos side by side, then you could potentially tell a bit of difference, but who's doing that? At the end of the day, the S24 Ultra is still an incredibly potent camera phone, so the keen photographers among you are certainly not missing out by shopping last generation. One of the major updates in the S25 Ultra though is its processor. It packs a custom version of Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite chip versus the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip on the S24 Ultra. On our benchmark tests, there is a noticeable difference in scores, with the S25 Ultra generally offering about 25% increase in power. But I'm just not sure that that's a difference that you'd ever actually notice in day-to-day life. I found that both phones are easily able to handle demanding 3D gaming. Genshin Impact, for example, played perfectly well on both phones, even with the settings cranked to the max. Editing photos in Adobe Lightroom was very responsive, while of course general navigation around the Android 16 interface was buttery smooth. So sure, the new model might have more power, but is it power that you actually need? Like a Ferrari might have more power than even a good Mercedes, but that Mercedes is still going to have so much more power than you actually need when you're just going to the shops, or going to work, or picking up the kids, or going out to buy a nice cake, whatever it is people use cars for. Software-wise, both phones now run Android 16 with Samsung's One UI 8 over the top. You'll find the same features on both phones, including Samsung's various AI tools like live translation, audio eraser, and drawing assist that turns your doodles into real pictures, albeit weird-looking pictures. Then you've got Google's AI tools like Gemini Live and Circle to Search, which again, you'll find on both models. Basically, there are no new features that you're missing out on by going with the older model. But it always is important to keep that software support period in mind when you're buying used, as the more recent phone, the Galaxy S25 Ultra, will have an extra year of life ahead of it. But Samsung did commit to 7 years of software and security updates for the S24 line, so this phone will still be good to use right up until about 2031. So it's still got a hell of a life ahead of it. And that's assuming that you look after it well enough to keep it going for that long. You don't drop it down a storm drain or something. Both Ultras pack 5000 mAh batteries, and unsurprisingly, battery life is pretty much the same. If you're buying a well-used S24 Ultra, then it is possible that the battery life may have slightly degraded over time, but it is only one generation old, and I really wouldn't have expected it to degrade that much in that amount of time. Both phones offer 45-watt wired charging and reverse wireless charging if you wanted to give your power to another device. When I started writing this story, I actually assumed that there were a lot more differences than I found there to be, but there's hardly anything. They even look basically the same, except one of them's got flat edges and one of them's got slightly curved edges. And I keep forgetting which way round it is. The new one's flat. Okay, that's why it stands up. No, it doesn't stand up. Now we know. But with battery life and camera performance basically being on par, and Samsung bringing all of its AI software features to its older model, there's very little to choose between them. It really comes down to that newer, faster processor, but I honestly don't think the vast majority of people would ever actually see the difference. Because let's not forget, this S24 Ultra is already a powerhouse. It's just not quite as powerful as this powerhouse. These phones then are basically identical, except that you can pick one of them up for half of the price of the other. Sure, how much you actually spend will depend on the quality of the used model that you find. Cheaper ones may have the odd scuff here and there, while models that are absolutely box fresh will demand a little bit more money. But still, nothing like the cost of a new 25 Ultra. Buy the last generation model on the used market is an amazing way of saving a ton of money. And I honestly think it's well worth doing, whether you're actually shopping on a budget or whether you've got infinite money to throw at your phones. In which case, well done you. How about throwing a little bit my way? And with the Galaxy S26 Ultra just around the corner, it's likely that this whole video will still be relevant. You just need to rewatch it and just pretend that it's one number higher. And to be honest, this logic doesn't just apply to Samsung's phones, because with almost all companies now, including Apple, Google, OnePlus, whoever, offering hugely powerful phones with long support periods, it's possible that you may never need to buy a brand new flagship phone ever again. What do you think about buying the previous generation? Is it the best way to save some money, or is your heart set on always having the latest and the greatest? Jump into the comments below to let us know your thoughts, and of course check out the video description for a lot more information.